What's up, you guys? Happy Monday! All right, how is the weekend? How's everybody feeling? What's new? So, we took a random last minute, like super last minute, like decided Saturday morning that we were gonna go to the mountains. Next week is Brandon's birthday, and obviously last week was Father's Day, and I was like, you know what? I just want to get out of town. I want to go to the mountains. Let's do this. So, I'm a fan of good deals, so I got on Groupon, and there was a room in Aspen for like $100, and I was like, cool, let's go. So, funniest part is I've lived in Colorado for 42 years, but in my head I didn't realize how far away Aspen is from our house. So it's like more than 3 hours away. So we left at like noon. I was like, okay, we got to get the house picked up, kind of clean it before we go, because I don't want to come home to a messy house, right? So we get in the car at like 12:30, whatever, and start driving. We get to Vail and decide we're hungry. Well, we were outside of Vail. And I decided to look up the directions, and I was like, oh, yeah, we got like 2 hours left. And Brandon's like, what? And I'm like, seriously, both of us have lived in Colorado our whole lives and failed to realize how far Aspen was. But anyway, it was gorgeous. It rained like crazy. It was literally 32 degrees yesterday. So yeah, Colorado's weird, but it was so pretty on the way back because like the low mountains were super green and the high mountains were like the same mountain range, but on the top was really white. So anyway, it was a fun weekend and we didn't get home till late, so it was kind of fun. But anyway, so a couple things I want to talk about. Hi, Kel. So I talked about rules last week and why they fail you. So there's two things, right? We're like, okay, well, if rules don't work, right? So if we're talking about our nutrition, if we're talking about exercise, if we're talking about just anything in your life, if rules fail you, because they always do because they're rooted in fear, what do? Right? Are you like, well, I'm just going to go about life and hope that it works? Probably that's not going to work, right? Because if it did work, then we wouldn't all be in the scenario we're in, right? So I want to make clear that rules are something that are very strict, right? Like they keep you in a box. They're like, you got to stay in this box if you want to accomplish anything, right? So boundaries are expansive. So we talked about this a little bit, but like boundaries feel good. All right, I'm back. I got a phone call. Didn't put it on Do Not Disturb. But boundaries feel open. They feel expansive. They feel like something that like you want to lean into and do more of. And rules feel really not so great, okay? So little story about the weekend. So a lot of you guys heard my story, like had body image issues my entire life. Right when I started Hunger for Happiness last year, I put on a swimsuit, we went to the pool, and I lost my shit. Like I was like, it was terrible. It was like a thing that needed to happen, but I hadn't been tracking. I didn't feel great about it. I hadn't been like stressing about looking at my body. And when I put my suit on, I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Needed to go through that to figure out like, what am I supposed to do when these feelings come up? Yesterday I went to the pool after we'd had not the best food and whatever. And I was like, okay, whatever. Didn't really think about it, right? And I walked by a mirror and saw my legs as I was walking by. And I've always like too much information over you guys, but I've never loved my legs. I think I've had cellulite since I was 15. I know in my own eyes it's probably worse than it actually is. But I like saw that as I was walking with the girls and I was like, well, that's not great, but it's not whatever. Like it's not what I want it to be, but it's not great, right? So the point of this is, you guys, is that it didn't throw me for a loop, right? It didn't throw me into this like, I'm a terrible person, because that's what happened before, right? I'm a terrible person. I don't love my body. I gotta fix it. I gotta restrict. I gotta yada, 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 yada. Set up all these rules. Like a year ago, I would have got up this morning and I would have written down all the things that I was going to take out of my diet and all the things that I couldn't do. And I would have done extra cardio and I would have blah, 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 blah. Right. And so, and I hadn't been feeling great like the last week. And so this morning, because you still need awareness, right? You still need awareness around what's going on. Like you can't just totally ignore what's happening in your life. So this morning I got up and I was like, okay, why don't I feel so great? Right? Like I just don't feel as good as I want to feel. And so I really started thinking about, I'm just sort of intuitively eating, and I really started looking at what I've been eating, and I was like, holy crap, you guys, I'm back into old patterns, 25 years of this, of not eating enough, right? Like instinctually, I don't eat enough food unless I pay attention to it. And maybe that's subconscious, maybe that's still like an underlying fear, maybe it's like Brandon said, I've trained my body to survive on a very small amount of food for a very long time. And so I started looking at that and I was like, wow, well, no wonder I don't feel good, right? And newsflash, in case you guys don't know this, eating too little is just as bad as eating too much. Like your body holds on to everything. You turn your metabolism off and you just don't feel great, right? So I was like, okay, so what do I need to do, right? I need some better boundaries. And I spent a lot of time, you guys, this morning, like really leaning into this of like, okay, I need different boundaries than what I have, which again, they get to move and flow. But I was like, I need different boundaries. So what does that look like? And in the past like year, there's been a few times where I've kind of tried to lean into this a little more, and it like sends me into like lack and limitation, and just I feel like it's just bad. And all I do is think about food, and it goes back to those old patterns. And I was like, okay, not there yet. So today I was like, okay, why do I want to do this, right? So first, what's your intention? So you got to get clear. Like if you're setting a boundary for yourself, what's your intention and where's it coming from, right? So if your intention is from fear, then it's never going to work, right? So my intention was like, okay, I want to love the way I feel. I want my energy to be better. And let's be honest, I want to feel good in my swimsuit. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, be honest with yourself. What's your intention? So I was like, all right. So started looking at sort of what my nutrition has looked like, and part of flow, you guys, flow is coming next week. Like part of flow is like, are you nourishing your body? And I started looking at it and I was like, wow, I'm not. Like I'm not eating enough food, right? I'm not nourishing my body. I'm not getting enough protein. I'm not getting enough vegetables. I'm not doing those things. So I was like, okay, I need to set boundaries from a place of love, making sure that I eat enough food, and then kind of roll with that, right? And so Brianna and I were talking about it, and I was like, okay, I've gotten good at intuitive eating, right? To where I feel comfortable with it and all those things, but it's not enough, right? So I was like, well, how do I set these boundaries without setting rules? So my tips for you guys on boundaries is you've got to know the difference viscerally between contractive, like, that's fear. If it feels like, oh God, I don't want to do this. This is another diet, right? That's not good. That's fear, okay? If it's like, oh, this feels good. This makes me feel expansive, like it's literally a physical, like if this feels expansive and you want to lean into it, then that's the first thing you need to do. But you've got to be really honest with yourself of like, is it expansive or is it contractive? And if you don't know what that feels like, you need to do a little bit of like sit down time with yourself and get quiet so you can actually say like, what is viscerally when my body says yes, what does that mean when my body says no? What does that mean, right? Like what does contraction and expansion feel like? And if you're like a lot of us, most of us live in contraction, we live in overwhelm, okay? So you've got to find a way, like, go play. Like, what did you used to do that made you truly happy? Go do that and see what it feels like, okay? So you've got to see, is it expansive, is it contractive? And you got to be honest with yourself as you go through this of if it feels contractive, you got to readjust, right? Like, you don't stop, you don't fail, right? There's no win or loss in boundaries. But you got to be like, okay, so that doesn't feel so great. What do I need to do to change this? How do I get to shift it, right? So you have to do that. You have to take away the good, the bad. You are not good. You are not bad. You did not do well. You did not fail. Like there's none of that, right? It's either it felt expansive, it felt contractive, it wasn't good or bad, the food wasn't good or bad, you're not good or bad, okay? So get clear on the intention, get really clear on what it feels to be expansive and contractive. And then just get really curious, right? I keep talking about this, but it's the truth. Like curiosity and awareness and then curiosity are the biggest things you can do in your life. Just in general, like, why are you doing what you're doing? Be aware that you're doing it, right? Like, oh, like I said something the other day and I was like, wonder why I said that like that, because that really didn't, like, where did that come from, right? Like no judgment, just curiosity. So curiosity of like, what am I actually feeding my body? What do these workouts do for me? Like, where's my mindset? Where's my emotionality? Like, how do I physically feel? Be aware of that and then get curious. Like, well, why is that? Is because I'm overeating, undereating, overnourished? You can't be overnourished. Like I'm undernourished, I'm underslept, I'm super stressed out. Like, where's this stuff coming from? And then what is the path that you need to do to shift it into the direction that feels expansive, right? So it's always about shifting and growing and molding and not winning and not losing and not failing and not doing any of that, right? Like get yourself out of the box and get yourself into this place of flow. Funny, that's what the program's called, right? Get yourself into this place of flow where you get to work with yourself and not against yourself. And you get to understand, like, where did this stuff come from and why are we doing it, right? And so that's what I really want you guys to lean into. So I know I've had a ton of questions about my flow program, what it is, what it does. And a lot of people are confused. Like, it's not we're not going to lose weight. Like, you might lose weight, but it's not about weight loss. It's about really recreating your relationship with food, your relationship with yourself. It's about learning how to get curious. It's about learning how to be a science experiment. It's about learning how do we do all these things in a way that feels good and gets us to the place that we want to go. And how curious can we be about ourselves, right? Because we're always on this journey, right? A year from now, I'm going to probably feel totally different and have different boundaries than I have right now, right? I'm like 1 year into changing all this stuff that I created for 25 years, right? So like it's a process. So understand that it's a process, love the process, make sure that you're coming from a place of love and not fear. and a place of expansion, not contraction. So this works in anything, you guys, anything in life, whether we're talking about work, whether we're talking about relationships, whether we're talking about friendships, whether you're talking about the things you want to do in your life, right? Like lean in. Does it feel good? Then do more of it. If it feels bad, then do less of it. So anyway, you guys, Flow launches next week. I've got 2 spots left for the free training. So if you guys want in on that spot, let me know. I'll drop the link below here. If there's somebody in your life that you're like, you know, I know they really need some help with the body image issues and the struggle with food and diet, and they're always in that diet cycle and they're always at war, share them with me, share me with them. I want to get this message out because it's something that so many people need to hear and that not very many people are talking about. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Happy Monday, and I will chat with you guys soon. All right, you guys. Bye.